before I get started answering your questions, I do want to say I have a video up showing you how I did both of these eyeshadow looks. One of these is all luxury and one of these is all drugstore. They are not side by side identical colors. They're pretty close. And if you're trying to dupe a look, I think you can accomplish that very easily using all drugstore, or if you're in the mood for a little luxury, you can do that too. The video is linked up there and it'll be down in the description box. My Instagram audience are my guinea pigs. I say this all the time and I don't mean it as some sort of like marketing thing or way to grow my Instagram followers, but I do pose more questions, post almost like little vlogs every single day over on Instagram and not here on YouTube because it's just not the same. It's just not set up the same way. It's so much easier to do it on Instagram. So over on Instagram, I put up the question box and said, ask me anything within reason, I will answer. And so here we are. I have many of them here. Obviously, I cannot answer all of them. I've come prepared this time with some water so that I do not get hoarse. I'm already getting hoarse. And I apologize in advance if you hear weird snorting noises. That is Wrigley doing something odd just outside of the camera. Let's start with the earliest one. What did you like most about teaching? If you did not know, I was very briefly a reading specialist for K3 and a second grade teacher. So I have to say of the two, I preferred being a reading specialist. I just liked the autonomy that I had more as a reading specialist than a classroom teacher. I think many of you are realizing now that you've given at-home learning a go, it's a lot more regimented. You have a team you're working with, you have certain schedules you have to follow, certain curriculum you have to hit, so many things. And there's so much administrative stuff on top of just the actual teaching part. Whereas as a specialist, it's a much more tailored curriculum and there's just a little more freedom to it and you see the effects of your work, I think, much more close up because the students that you're working with as specialists need that intervention. And so you see them progress and it's very fulfilling. But as far as what did I like most about teaching? I think I just answered that question without realizing it. I loved seeing my students start at one point and go to another point in their development and knowing that I had some small part in that. It's very fulfilling and I still think about my students that I had 23 years ago, like what are they doing now? Did I help them at all? That kind of thing. So that was the part that I liked most about it. The effect and the interaction that I had with my students. I'd say very close to that was the lesson planning. I love researching and creating. Obviously I'm creating content now, just in a very different way. So I really enjoyed that as well. Actually, there's one more thing, which is a close tied with the first two, and that is the camaraderie. I mean, especially at the elementary school level, it is very much a female-dominated career, and having a building full of your peers that you can interact with every day is very nice. I love what I do now. I would not go back to teaching if I had the option, but this is a very lonely profession because right now I'm sitting in my kitchen by myself with some dogs scattered around. You look fantastic. How did you lose so much weight? Well, thank you. I've actually gained a bit back because I've definitely fallen off the wagon since I'd say October, which brings me up. I don't know where this is going in the scheme of what gets uploaded first, but if it's not already uploaded, I'm going to be doing my fitness faves from 2020 and talking to you about the new Faster Way to Fat Loss big New Year's group that's starting January 4th that I myself am jumping back on that wagon. And I'll talk all about Faster Way and whether or not I recommend it. I obviously do, but I do feel like there are some caveats I need to be open with everybody about. But I did the Faster Way to Fat Loss program. I started it in May of this year. I didn't lose that much. I lost, I'd say 7-8 pounds. I did lose about 5 inches all over. I'd probably gained like half of that back. And it did teach me a lot about what I need to do for myself as far as not just losing weight, but gaining muscle, feeling healthy, all that stuff. But we'll get into that in that video. If it's already up, I'll have linked it up there and I'll put it down in the description box. But it was a combination of intermittent fasting, which I never fell off the wagon. I'm still sticking to that. Consistent exercise and tracking my macro intake and portion size, I'd say. Are you going to start vlogging again soon? Probably. That is something that I very much miss. I do enjoy. It won't be a consistent weekly thing. My days just are that interesting, especially during quarantine. I mean, watching me sit around my house while you're sitting around your house is probably not something you need to see. I mean, we're all living it. So yes, but as someone with Hashimoto's, what do you do besides no gluten to reduce inflammation? That's it. That's it. That's all I do. A lot of questions about my extended family. I've covered this before in an earlier Ask Me. My extended family does not want to be discussed or featured in my YouTube videos. I mean, you have to understand that. I chose to be in front of the camera. My immediate family oftentimes does not want to be in front of the camera along with me. And as I can see from many of you who don't even have a profile picture and obviously aren't using their real names in their profiles, a lot of you would prefer to keep your anonymity. So you can understand that my immediate and extended family, for the most part, would prefer to have their own private lives. So I'm gonna leave those questions out, but I appreciate your interest. Someone wants to know, what is my biggest dream or goal? You know, it changes as I go through life. I mean, my biggest, I'd say, dream as a young woman was to find a life partner. And I did that, checked that box, and we're still on that journey together. Now my biggest dream is to see my children, well, they're fully grown, but like fully formed, independent adults with their own life partners and children. That's my biggest dream, is to see that come to fruition. As far as goals, I really just I'm at a very good place in my life. I love what I do. I love the people that I'm with. I love my house. I am perfectly content where I am right now in both my personal and professional life. So my goal, honestly, is just to sustain this contentment in both my personal and professional lives. I know some people are like, oh, you gotta grow this much and you gotta do this and you gotta own that. I'm good. I'm more than good. I am so happy. So my goal is to stay exactly where I am, just in this level of contentment. Someone wants to know if I think that being in social media as a job makes me more concerned about my appearance. Yes, yes, of course. I don't think of myself as a vain person, because no one who is vain would put themselves on camera with no makeup on, looking the way I've looked in previous videos. But I am hyper aware of my appearance because I am not because of the filming, but the editing part. When I'm looking at myself blown up on a big monitor and I'm editing the film back, you're fully aware of what you're looking at, flaws and all, flaws that nobody else sees. Or, well, actually that's not true. Plenty of people are happy to point those out, even if I don't see them. So I'm hyper aware in that case, but I would say you also, at least I've also reached a level of just not caring at all, because I know exactly how I look and you just stop thinking about it. You just get to this level of, and so what? So yes and no. How did you and Michael meet, and what made a Chicago girl go to Ole Miss? Well, I should just be very clear. I did not go to Ole Miss. Marnie goes to Ole Miss. Michael and I are both from the Chicago area. Michael went to undergrad at the University of Vermont. I went to undergrad at the University of Illinois. I didn't even know a place called Ole Miss existed. Our children both go there or went there. One has already graduated. And I'm sure that was heavily influenced by the fact that we don't live that we live in the South, in Texas. So that just sort of opens up a different geographic region, which is kind of funny because the boys, when they're in Oxford, are 3 hours closer by car to our family in Chicago than they are to us, because we are so far south and so far west that Mississippi is actually closer to Chicago, at least northern Mississippi. Michael and I met. We had both taken a job to work at a local day camp, and because we were over 21, we were able to drive the school buses to pick up the kids to take them to camp. And so we actually met for the first time, well, I saw him for the first time and decided that was the one I wanted. When we had our scheduled camp day to go to the driver's license facility and get our commercial driver's licenses to drive the school buses. That's when I first laid eyes on him and thought, who's that? That's a cute one. I gotta meet that guy. And then we met during in-service training for camp like that week. I just kind of made sure I was near him, so passive aggressive. And then he spoke to me and the rest is history. So the next question was, is Michael from Chicago too? Yes. I mean, we're both from the northern suburbs, which is known as the North Shore. So I'm from, if those of you who are familiar with the region, I'm from Wilmette and I went to New Trier High School, and he's from Northbrook and graduated from Glenbrook North. We actually grew up going to the same family dentist, and in talking found out that we've attended parties, bar mitzvahs and things together, but didn't know obviously each other then. Is YouTube as fun as it looks from the outside? Do you make a decent amount of money? I think it's what you make of it. I think YouTube is fun and is a very creative outlet. And yes, it is very lucrative as well. It has, I am lucky enough that I can say, yes, I make a decent amount of money, and it is a full-time job for me, and has been for about 7 years now. So I'm really lucky that that has happened. A lot of questions about merchandise. What kind of merchandise would you like to launch? What beauty product do you want to launch? I am not interested in my own line of anything. I am very much a consumer. I'm happy to consume. I'm happy to buy things and tell you about them. If a brand would, like an established brand, would like to collaborate with me and help, and I could like pick out anything, it would definitely be, my dream would be an eyeshadow palette. I'm not even gonna name a brand because I don't wanna narrow that down. It's not gonna happen anyway. If I could design merchandise, like a physical non-makeup product, I would love to get in on designing a handbag, because I have some very specific things I've always wanted in a handbag, and I've never found one that ticked every box that I wanted. Any fun travel plans for 2021 you can share? Michael's turning 50 in 2021, and we are definitely gonna plan, we are in the middle of planning a golf trip. I mean, it's a trip that will obviously involve a ton of golf, because that's his favorite thing to do. And I don't want to get too into the weeds on that or into the details until things are firmed up, and I will definitely vlog that experience. But I will say that wherever we're going, we're driving. So he loves to drive, and we're probably going to break up the trip so that we are in a couple destinations along the way. Did I ever seriously consider having another baby? No. Michael and I mapped this out, believe it or not, on our first date. I told him I only wanted 2. He told me he only wanted 2. We both come from families of 2. How we discussed this or why on our first date, I have no idea. But yeah, nope, never did. What was the hardest age in regards to your kids? I would say high school is definitely the hardest. When they're babies, you're just physically exhausted. You don't sleep, at least for the first maybe 3 to 6 months. You know, you're not sleeping like a normal person. I breastfed, so you're living with a parasite. I mean, I love them, but that's what it is. So that's physically hard, but mentally, you're just kind of, you know, you're not waking up at night worrying about anything because you're too tired. The teenage thing, that is mentally way more emotionally exhausting. Plus it's physically exhausting because there's so many decisions that are going on, and the drama with the social life and curfew and dating and college and drugs and alcohol. Not that they're doing it, but worrying that they're going to do it, or worrying that they're going to be near somebody who's doing it, or be in a car with, you know, all that stuff is emotionally exhausting. And you are also possibly physically exhausted because, one, you might be going through menopause or perimenopause, so your sleep cycle is shot to hell. And if it's like a weekend and they have a, say, 11 or later curfew, you gotta stay up till they come home. And I don't stay up till midnight normally. I'm not that kind of person. So you gotta stay up until they get home, and then you still have to get up at your regular hour even if they don't. So now you're physically exhausted. You see where I'm going with this? So definitely the high school years. Once they're out of my house, away at college, it's not that you stop worrying, but there is this out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. The worrying just really comes down a different level. Okay, somebody's asking me how much did it really hurt? And I think they're referring to the lip fillers. Enough for me to go like this, which I edited out because it was a little weird. But I made a few squeaks, like, and it, just that initial prick, and then it didn't hurt. And then, so every time, not every time the needle went in, but like maybe 3 or 4 times in that multiple injection period, it was like, oh, that was it. So enough to deter me from doing it again? No. What is my biggest regret? Okay, that's kind of deep. And honestly, as much as I enjoy living where I live and could not have imagined raising my children anywhere but San Antonio, Texas, for me, I do regret that they did not have the experience I had growing up with extended family all around me. So I feel a little bad about that. And that's why when y'all keep asking me, are we gonna downsize? Are we gonna move? We really don't wanna go anywhere until at least one of our kids is settled down somewhere. And by settled down, I mean married and with kids, because even people in their younger adult lives, they will move around a little bit. But usually once people have kids, they tend to settle down. That is assuming that my kids live in Texas or in the South somewhere, because if they move up north with snow, they're on their own. We'll come visit. Okay, how old are your boys? If you don't know this already, I'll answer this. And do you feel like you wish you had a girl too? Asking for me. My boys are currently, in December, 19 and a half and 22 and a half in June are their birthdays. So they're halfway to 20 and 23, which is crazy. Okay, do I feel like I wish I had a girl too? Not, occasionally you get these little twinges like, oh, that would have been fun. But I can't imagine our family dynamic with a girl in it. I guess if I were gonna have 3 kids and I guarantee that the third one was a girl, that would be fine. But my boys are buddies, and I just don't see how that dynamic would have played out with a boy-girl thing. I don't know. So, not really. I hope I'll have awesome daughters-in-law one day, and I really hope I get some granddaughters. Not anytime soon. Few questions about my name. Marnie is my full name, M-A-R-N-I-E. It is not short for anything. That's just what it is. My parents got it from an Alfred Hitchcock movie. There you go. That's it. Here's another question. I'm so nervous, but here it goes. What is your advice for an older woman to start Instagram or a blog? Go for it. Go for it. But decide why you're doing this. Is this a hobby that you just want to have some fun with? Or are you looking to this as a way to earn an income, which is fine. But I would say if that's the case, I hope you have a backup plan, because there are no guarantees in this industry. From month to month, at this point I'm pretty established, know what is going to come in, but it's all, commissions based and sponsors that you may or may not get. And so you really don't know. And if you're just starting out, you're just not going to make money for a while. So have another hustle on the side, or make this your side thing. And then from there, my advice is the same for anyone who wants to start off an Instagram or blog or YouTube. There is always room at this table. It is a really big table, and everybody has something to bring to it. You do not need to spend a lot of money to get started. In fact, I would advise strongly that you do not. If you have a good phone that can take decent pictures, you are good to go. And look at the people that you admire. Look at the way they have their Instagram set up, the way they film their YouTube videos. And as far as like setup goes, like where they're sitting and things like that, or the quality of their photographs, and then go from there. There are tons of free places to get information on blogging, on Instagram. You don't need to sign up for a course or anything like that. And just go for it, because you're always gonna fail if you don't try. And I will end with a controversial subject. How do you or your husband feel about the COVID vaccine, and are y'all taking it? Yes, I'm going to take it. I don't know which one, because I'm not in a high-risk group, so by the time the Pfizer one is available to us, maybe there'll be other options, so at that point I'll probably have to study my options. I'm a huge fan of science. The science looks pretty amazing, actually. This new kind of RNA-based vaccine is kind of cool, I think, from a scientific perspective. I've spoken to a lot of doctors I know personally, who I trust and respect immensely, and they all got it. I do not know or care if the government is trying to track my movements through tiny little GPS trackers in the vaccines. I'm not doing anything all that interesting. Follow me, just knock yourselves out. I'm joking. I really don't think there's anything like that in there. I have concerns about some of our other civil liberties, but as far as being concerned about what they're injecting into me, no. I don't think it's going to modify my DNA. I don't think I'm going to have some sort of like microchip in me. And honestly, with my luck, there will be a microchip in there, and then I'll probably go on vacation to some foreign country and get kidnapped, and then hopefully they can use that to track me. I am just kidding, but yes, I will be getting, I'm a big fan of vaccines. I always have been. If you are an anti-vaxxer, please do not come on here and tell me how wrong I am. I am not going to presume to tell you how wrong you are. And we should all know by now that nobody's mind is going to get changed on this debate or any other government or political debate. I will get it. I'm not in a hurry to get it. I imagine it's likely that airlines will require proof of vaccination to travel at some point. And since I do enjoy traveling, I'm gonna have to get that vaccine. All right, I think we've hit the time limit. So hopefully you have learned a little bit more about me. If you didn't know some of these things, I hope that you found this enlightening. I think instead of waiting for years or months at a time before I do these, I'm gonna start to do this maybe once a month over on Instagram. I'll put that Ask Me Anything box up or do some polls and things like that, and I'll save them as a highlight of my Instagram. So again, if you do not follow me on Instagram, that is another reason why. There's a lot more room for interaction on Instagram than there is on YouTube, and you're allowed to be a little more anonymous. Like you could ask me all these questions privately and your name's not displayed, and in YouTube there just isn't a format for that. And I do respect keeping y'all's identity private unless you feel like sharing it. So anyway, thanks to everyone who submitted questions. I'm sorry I could not answer all of them, particularly the ones on parenting advice. I'm going to save this, so maybe I can do a video next month specifically on parenting advice, because that was another big topic. And since this is Daily December, there will be a video tomorrow. So thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.